Hello and welcome to another life-changing episode here, Decode Your Courage. I'm so glad you're joining me today. Whether you're listening on your commute, out for a walk, or just chilling at home with a coffee, thank you for spending this time with me. Today, we're diving into something that's not just about standing up for yourself, but about fighting for the life you deserve. We're talking about courage to face a bully, to protect your home, and to reclaim your peace. This isn't just about legal battles or neighborhood drama. It's about what it takes to stand tall when someone tries to tear you down, to hold your ground when the odds feel stacked against you, and to build a community where everyone can thrive. Let's be real, life throws challenges at us all the time. Maybe it's a toxic boss, a controlling neighbor, or even a system that feels rigged. We've all faced moments where we wonder, how do I keep going? Am I strong enough to fight this? That's where courage comes in. It's not about being fearless. It's about choosing to act, to speak, to fight, even when your hands are shaking. And here at Decode Your Courage, I don't just want to share stories or tips. I want to help you build the confidence to face your own battles, to speak up with clarity, and to live with the kind of strength that changes everything. This episode is special because it's not just about learning strategies. It's about a real story, my story of how I took on a neighborhood tyrant named Karen Blackwood and won. It's about how I turned her fake eviction notice into her downfall and transformed our community in the process. Throughout this episode, I'll be using natural, conversational language, the kind you'd hear in a courtroom or over coffee with a friend. I'll also ask you some questions to help you reflect on your own fights, your own courage. You might want to pause now and then maybe grab a notebook to jot down your thoughts. The goal isn't to rush through this. The goal is to grow in confidence, in clarity, and in courage. So take a deep breath and let's dive into the story of how I fought back, won my home, and changed Maple Grove forever. What is courage and what it's not? So, what exactly is courage? It's a word we hear a lot, but it's not always easy to pin down. For some, courage might sound like charging into battle or speaking in front of a crowd, but courage isn't always loud or dramatic. It's about showing up for yourself, even when it's hard. It's about standing up to someone who's trying to control you, like I did with Karen Blackwood, the HOA president who thought she could rule Maple Grove like her personal kingdom. Courage is about recognizing your worth, your right to your home, your peace, your life, and refusing to let anyone take that away. Let's be clear about what courage isn't. It's not about being reckless or picking fights for no reason. It's not about thinking you're tougher than everyone else or ignoring the rules. Courage isn't about being perfect either. It's not saying, I've got this all figured out, and I'll never back down. In fact, true courage often means admitting you're scared, owning your mistakes, and still choosing to act. Think of it like this. Imagine you're in a storm, and your house is shaking. Courage isn't pretending the storm doesn't exist. It's grabbing a hammer, nailing down the boards, and protecting what's yours, even when the wind is howling. That's what I did when Karen taped the fake eviction notice to my door. I could have panicked or given up, but I chose to fight smart, strategic, and relentless. Courage also isn't a what-I'm thing. It's not like you flip a switch and suddenly you're brave forever. It's the choice you make every day, in the small moments when you decide to speak up, in the quiet moments when you keep going despite doubt, and in the big moments when you face someone like Karen head on. So, why are we talking about this in a podcast? Because here at Decode Your Courage, I'm not just here to tell stories. I want to help you find your own strength, to speak with confidence, and to face your own battles, whether they're in a courtroom, a workplace, or your own backyard. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you stood up for yourself? Not because you had to, but because you knew you deserved better. Think about that for a moment, because that's where courage begins. Why courage feels so hard. Some atoms of courage is so important. Why does it feel so tough to summon it? That's a fair question. We all want to feel strong, to stand up for ourselves, to fight for what's right. But something often gets in the way, for me. It was the weight of Karen's constant harassment, her notes, her fines, her smug smirk at HOA meetings. It wasn't just one thing. It was the slow drip of her tyranny that made standing up feel daunting. One of the biggest barriers to courage is fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, or even fear of winning and what that might mean. When I saw that eviction notice, my stomach dropped. For 3 seconds, I felt the fear. What if I lose my home? What if she wins? That fear was real. But it didn't tell the whole story. Fear is loud, but it's not always true. Then there's self-doubt. That little voice that says, you're not strong enough. You'll mess this up. I heard it every time I walked into an HOA meeting, facing Karen's gavel and her loyal notepad. Maybe you've heard that voice too when you wanted to speak up at work, confront a friend, or challenge an unfair rule. That voice feels like truth, but it's really just fear dressed up as logic. Another reason courage feels hard is past experiences. Maybe someone in your life, a boss, a parent, or even a neighbor like Karen made you feel small. Maybe they criticized you, dismissed your voice, or made you think you had to stay quiet to keep the peace. For me, it was years of rebuilding after a divorce that left me financially and emotionally drained. When Karen came after me, those old wounds whispered, "You've lost before, why fight now?" But I refused to let that define me. And let's not forget society. We live in a world that often tells us to stay in line, to avoid making waves. Social media shows us perfect lives, perfect fights, perfect victories. If our courage doesn't look like a movie montage, we feel like we're failing. But courage isn't always loud protests or viral moments. Sometimes it's quietly gathering evidence, like I did with Karen's notes, or calling a lawyer when your hands are shaking. Here's a question. Have you ever felt guilty for standing up for yourself? Maybe you spoke up and felt selfish afterward. Or you set a boundary and worried you'd hurt someone's feelings. That guilt often comes from a belief that we should always put others first, that our needs don't matter. But courage means saying, my home, my peace, my life that matter too. The good news, courage isn't something you're born with or without. It's a skill, like learning English or riding a bike. It feels awkward at first, maybe even scary. But every time you choose to act, whether it's saying no, filing a complaint, or standing up in a meeting, you get stronger. So, the next time you feel afraid, ask yourself, would I let someone treat a friend this way? If the answer is no, then it's time to stand up for yourself. Let's keep going, because this journey isn't easy. But it's worth it. The inner critic versus the inner ally. Let's talk about that voice in your head, the one that shows up when you're about to take a stand. Sometimes it's helpful, keeping you sharp and prepared. But other times, it's your worst enemy. I call this the inner critic, and it's one of the biggest obstacles to courage. When I found that fake eviction notice, my inner critic screamed, "You're out of your league. Karen's got power, connections, a gavel, you're just one guy." That voice was loud, convincing, and it almost stopped me. The inner critic loves to focus on your weaknesses. It reminds you of every time you backed down, every mistake you made. For me, it brought up my divorce, my years of scraping by, whispering, "You've lost before, you'll lose again." Maybe you've heard it too when you wanted to confront someone, to fight for your rights, or to challenge an unfair system. It says, "You're not smart enough. You'll look foolish. Why bother?" But there's another voice, the inner ally. This voice doesn't pretend everything's perfect. It's honest but kind. When I was staring at that eviction notice, my inner ally said, "This is wrong. You know real estate law. You've got this." It reminded me of my strengths, of the years I'd spent in law, of my determination to keep my home. The inner ally doesn't lie. It encourages. It says, "You're scared, but you're capable. You've fought before, and you can fight now." The difference is huge. The inner critic holds you back, rooted in fear. The inner ally pushes you forward, grounded in truth and strength. Both voices live in us, but we choose which one to amplify. Let me share a story. When I first challenged Karen at an HOA meeting, my inner critic was screaming. I was new, an outsider, and she had the room in her grip. But I remembered my training, my rights, and the binder of evidence I'd been building. My inner ally said, "Speak up, you're not alone." That small shift got me through the door, through the meeting, and eventually to victory. Here's how you can build your inner ally when that critical voice pipes up. Pause and ask, is this helping me or hurting me? If it's tearing you down, it's not your friend. Then talk to yourself like you would a close friend. If your best friend was facing a Karen, would you tell them to give up? Or would you say, "You've got this, you're stronger than you"? Try saying that to yourself. It takes practice. But over time, your inner ally becomes louder, more natural. So, the next time you're about to face a challenge, maybe a tough conversation, or a fight for your rights, listen. Who's speaking? Your critic or your ally? Choose the voice that lifts you up. The one that says, you're enough and you're ready. Let's keep moving. Because courage isn't about being fearless, it's about choosing your ally over your critic. Small acts of courage. What it looks like day-to-day courage can sound like a big, lofty idea, epic courtroom battles, or standing up to a tyrant like Karen. But most of the time, courage is small, quiet, and personal. It's the everyday choices that say, I'm worth fighting for. Let's start with one of the simplest but hardest acts of courage. Saying no. For me, it was telling Karen her trash can rule was nonsense. It felt risky. She was the HOA president. After all, but saying no protected my peace. Maybe for you, it's telling a coworker you can't take on extra work, or telling a friend you need space. Saying no isn't rude. It's a boundary that says, my time, my energy, they matter. Another small act of courage is documenting your truth. When Karen's fines started piling up, I didn't just complain, I kept every note, every violation, in her binder. It was tedious, but it was courage in action. It said, I'm not letting this slide. Maybe for you, it's writing down unfair treatment at work or saving emails that prove your case. These small steps build the foundation for bigger wins. Courage also looks like asking for help. When I called Rachel Harper, my lawyer friend, I was nervous. What if she thought I was overreacting? But reaching out was a choice to value my home over my pride. Asking for help, whether it's a friend, a mentor, or a professional, says, I deserve support. Then there's celebrating small victories. When I won my first HOA challenge, it wasn't the big courtroom victory, it was getting $160 fine dropped. But I celebrated it. It was proof I could fight back. Maybe you spoke up in a meeting, or you stood up to a rude comment. Those moments matter. Courage means noticing your progress, even when it feels small. It's also in the quiet moments, like choosing not to obsess over Karen's latest note, or refusing to let her surveillance ruin my morning walk. For you, it might be ignoring a snarky comment or walking away from a toxic argument. These choices say, I'm in control of my peace. Here's a question. What's one small thing you could do today to stand up for yourself? Maybe it's saying no to an unfair demand, writing down a plan to address a problem, or simply taking a moment to breathe before responding to a bully. Whatever it is, choose something real. Courage grows in these small moments, repeated over time. Each one says, I'm worth it, keep going. Because those small acts are building something unstoppable. The role of mindset and consistency. We've talked about what courage is and how to practice it in small ways. Now let's go deeper into something critical, your mindset. Your mindset is the lens through which you see yourself and your battles. It shapes whether you shrink back or stand tall. There are two types of mindsets, fixed and growth. A fixed mindset says, I'm not a fighter. I'll never win against someone like Karen. That's what I could have believed when her fake eviction notice showed up. It feels safe, but it traps you. It makes every setback feel like proof you're not enough. A growth mindset, on the other hand, says, I can learn, I can fight, I can grow. When I found that notice, I didn't know how to win. but I believed I could figure it out. I researched, called Rachel, gathered evidence. Each step was a lesson, not a failure. A growth mindset doesn't ignore challenges. It sees them as part of the process. It says, this is hard, but I'm getting stronger. Let me ask you, when you face a challenge, do you think, I'm not cut out for this, or I'll figure it out? Your answer reveals your mindset. A growth mindset gives you room to be brave, to make mistakes, and to keep going. Now, let's talk about consistency. Courage isn't about one big, heroic moment. It's about showing up again and again. When Karen's fines kept coming, I didn't win by fighting one battle. I won by consistently documenting, attending meetings, and refusing to back down. Some days, I was exhausted. Some days, I doubted myself. But I kept going. Think about it like this. Imagine you're training for a race. You don't run a marathon in one day. You train day after day. Even when you're tired, courage is the same. Maybe you speak up once, and it feels awkward. Keep going. Maybe you set a boundary, and it doesn't stick. Try again. Consistency says, I'm not perfect, but I'm committed. Here's a phrase to remember: progress, not perfection. I wasn't a perfect fighter. I stumbled, doubted, got angry, but I kept moving forward. That's how I built the case that took Karen down. So, what's one small thing you can do regularly to build your courage? Maybe it's speaking up once a week, writing down your thoughts, or asking for help when you need it. Whatever it is, keep showing up. That's how courage grows, one step, one choice, one moment at a time. Courage in hard times. Life isn't always fair. Sometimes it feels like the Karens of the world are winning. For me, those hard times were the months of Karen's harassment notes about my trash cans, my porch light, even my disruptively rhythmic footsteps. It was exhausting, and my inner critic loved it, whispering, you're fighting a losing battle. But courage matters most when things are tough. When life feels heavy, it's easy to beat yourself up. Maybe you faced a setback, a lost job, a broken relationship, or a bully who won't quit. Your inner critic might say, you're weak, you should have done better. But courage is choosing compassion instead. It's saying, this is hard, but I'm doing my best. Think about it. If your best friend was being bullied, would you tell them they're not enough? No, you'd say, you're stronger than this, keep going. So why not say that to yourself? When I was fighting Karen, there were days I wanted to give up, but I remembered why I was fighting: for my home, my peace, my community. That kept me going. Here's a story. Early in my fight, I lost a challenge at an HOA meeting. Karen's gavel slammed, and her smirk said it all. I felt defeated. But instead of giving up, I took a walk, called Javier for a beer, and reminded myself, this isn't over. A week later, I found a new angle, a typo in her violation notice that led me to question her authority. That setback became a stepping stone. What do you say to yourself when things go wrong? Do you criticize, or do you encourage? Courage in hard times means staying with yourself, not abandoning yourself. The next time you're struggling, try this: pause, breathe, and say, this hurts, but I'm stronger than I know. That small act of kindness can carry you through. Don't wait for the fight to be easy. Be brave when it's messy, when you're doubting, when you feel small. That's when courage shines. How to practice more courage. So, how do you actually start practicing courage in your daily life? You don't need to take down an HOA president to be brave. It starts small. And it starts now. First, notice your inner voice when you're about to face a challenge. Are you tearing yourself down or lifting yourself up? If you catch yourself saying, I can't do this, pause and ask, would I say this to a friend? Then try something kinder, like, I'm nervous, but I'm capable. Journaling is another powerful tool. Write down your challenges, your wins, your fears. When I was fighting Karen, I kept a binder of her notes, but I also jotted down my thoughts: why I was fighting, what I was afraid of. It helped me see my strength. You don't need to be a writer. Just be honest. One sentence a day can shift how you see yourself. Set boundaries. If someone's crossing your line, whether it's a boss, a neighbor, or a friend, practice saying no. It could be as simple as, I can't take that on right now, or I need space to think. Boundaries aren't selfish, they're courage in action. Celebrate your progress. Did you speak up today? Did you ask for help? Did you walk away from a fight that wasn't worth it? Those are wins. Write them down. Say them out loud. Own them. And when you're feeling overwhelmed, try this. Place your hand on your heart. Take a deep breath and remind yourself, I'm here. I'm enough. It's simple, but it grounds you. Finally, practice gratitude every day. Notice one thing you're proud of. Maybe it's standing up to a rude comment, or maybe it's just getting through a tough day. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's wrong to what's possible. What's one small act of courage you can do today? Maybe it's speaking up, setting a boundary, or writing down a plan. Start small, but start. Courage isn't about perfection, it's about showing up again and again for yourself. Conclusion: as we wrap up this episode, let's reflect on what we've explored. Courage isn't about being fearless or winning every battle. It's about choosing to act, to stand up, to keep going. Even when it's hard, it's about knowing you're worth your home, your peace, your life, and refusing to let anyone take that away. My fight with Karen Blackwood wasn't just about saving my home. It was about proving that one person, with courage and persistence, can change everything. Courage is a journey, not a destination. Some days, you'll feel unstoppable. Others, you'll doubt yourself. Both are okay. What matters is that you keep showing up, little by little. Here's a challenge for this week. Notice your inner voice. When you catch yourself doubting or shrinking back, pause and ask, is this helping me? Then say something kind, like, I'm doing my best, or I'm stronger than I think. Try it for a few days and see how it feels. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who might need a boost of courage. Your story, your fight, could inspire them. And if you want to share your own experiences, drop a comment or message. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for joining me on Decode Your Courage. You are enough. Right now, just as you are. Keep standing up, keep fighting, and keep being brave. I'll be here with you. And I can't wait to share more stories soon. Until next time, stay strong and be kind to yourself.